Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Power Hour Saturday Night Personal Development Series. I am your host, Chris Peters, and Kareem Mays tonight is out doing a music gig, so I don't know if he's joining us. We have our good friend, Mr. Dan Sissick, been with us for a long time. Welcome, Dan. Good to have you here tonight. And tonight we are going to be listening to Chapter 12 of Think and Grow Rich, The Subconscious Mind. And it's the connecting link, the 11th step toward riches. And this chapter is very important because it talks about a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the five senses is classified and recorded, and from which thoughts may be recalled or withdrawn as letters may be taken from a filing cabinet. It receives and files sense impressions or thoughts regardless of their nature. So it's important that we voluntarily plant in our subconscious mind plans, thoughts, and purposes for which we would desire to translate into physical or monetary equivalent. The subconscious mind acts first on the dominating desires which have been mixed with emotional feelings such as faith. So that's just a brief excerpt from the book that I'm reading here along with the audio. So I'm just going to get this, it's all queued up and ready to go. So I'm just going to move my microphone over to the speaker and we will get started. Turn the speakers on.
Chapter 12, The Subconscious Mind, The Connecting Link, the 11th Step toward Riches. The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the five senses is classified and recorded, and from which thoughts may be recalled or withdrawn, as letters may be taken from a filing cabinet. It receives and files sense impressions or thoughts regardless of their nature. You may voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to translate into its physical or monetary equivalent. The subconscious acts first on the dominating desires which have been mixed with emotional feeling, such as faith. Consider this in connection with the instructions given in the chapter on desire, for taking the 6 steps there outlined, and the instructions given in the chapter on building and execution of plans, and you will understand the importance of the thought conveyed. The subconscious mind works day and night. Through a method of procedure unknown to man, the subconscious mind draws upon the forces of infinite intelligence for the power with which it voluntarily transmutes one's desires into their physical equivalent, making use always of the most practical media by which this end may be accomplished. You cannot entirely control your subconscious mind, but you can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose which you wish transformed into concrete form. Read again instructions for using the subconscious mind in the chapter on autosuggestion. There is plenty of evidence to support the belief that the subconscious mind is the connecting link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. It is the intermediary through which one may draw upon the forces of infinite intelligence at will. It alone contains the secret process by which mental impulses are modified and changed into their spiritual equivalent. It alone is the medium through which prayer may be transmitted to the source capable of answering prayer. The possibilities of creative effort connected with the subconscious mind are stupendous and imponderable. They inspire one with awe. I never approach this discussion of the subconscious mind without a feeling of littleness and inferiority, due perhaps to the fact that man's entire stock of knowledge on this subject is so pitifully limited. The very fact that the subconscious mind is the medium of communication between the thinking mind of man and infinite intelligence is of itself a thought which almost paralyzes one's reason. After you have accepted as a reality the existence of the subconscious mind and understand its possibilities as a medium for transmuting your desires into their physical or monetary equivalent, you will comprehend the full significance of the instructions given in the chapter on desire. You will also understand why you have been repeatedly admonished to make your desires clear and to reduce them to writing. You will also understand the necessity of persistence in carrying out instructions. The 13 principles are the stimuli with which you acquire the ability to reach and to influence your subconscious mind. Do not become discouraged if you cannot do this upon the first attempt. Remember that the subconscious mind may be voluntarily directed only through habit under the directions given in the chapter on faith. You have not yet had time to master faith. Be patient. Be persistent. A good many statements in the chapters on faith and autosuggestion will be repeated here for the benefit of your subconscious mind. Remember, your subconscious mind functions voluntarily, whether you make any effort to influence it or not. This naturally suggests to you that thoughts of fear and poverty and all negative thoughts serve as stimuli to your subconscious mind unless you master these impulses and give it more desirable food upon which it may feed. The subconscious mind will not remain idle. If you fail to plant desires in your subconscious mind, it will feed upon the thoughts which reach it as a result of your neglect. We have already explained that thought impulses, both negative and positive, are reaching the subconscious mind continuously from the four sources which were mentioned in the chapter on sex transmutation. We have already explained that thought impulses, both negative and positive, are reaching the subconscious mind continuously from the four sources which were mentioned in the chapter on sex transmutation. For the present, it is sufficient if you remember that you are living daily in the midst of all manner of thought impulses which are reaching your subconscious mind without your knowledge. Some of these impulses are negative, some are positive. You are now engaged in trying to help shut out the flow of negative impulses and to aid in voluntarily influencing your subconscious mind through positive impulses of desire. When you achieve this, you will possess the key which unlocks the door to your subconscious mind. Moreover, you will control that door so completely that no undesirable thought may influence your subconscious mind. Everything which man creates begins in the form of a thought impulse. Man can create nothing which he does not first conceive in thought. Through the aid of the imagination, thought impulses may be assembled into plans. The imagination, when under control, may be used for the creation of plans or purposes that lead to success in one's chosen occupation. All thought impulses intended for transmutation into their physical equivalent, voluntarily planted in the subconscious mind, must pass through the imagination and be mixed with faith. The mixing of faith with a plan or purpose intended for submission to the subconscious mind may be done only through the imagination. From these statements, you will readily observe that voluntary use of the subconscious mind calls for coordination and application of all the principles. Ella Wheeler Wilcox gave evidence of her understanding of the power of the subconscious mind when she wrote, "You can never tell what a thought will do in bringing you hate or love, for thoughts are things, and their airy wings are swifter than carrier doves. They follow the law of the universe. Each thing creates its kind, and they speed o'er the track to bring you back whatever went out from your mind." Mrs. Wilcox understood the truth that thoughts which go out from one's mind also embed themselves deeply in one's subconscious mind, where they serve as a magnet, pattern, or blueprint by which the subconscious mind is influenced while translating them into their physical equivalent. Thoughts are truly things, for the reason that every material thing begins in the form of thought energy. The subconscious mind is more susceptible to influence by impulses of thought mixed with feeling or emotion than by those originating solely in the reasoning portion of the mind. In fact, there is much evidence to support the theory that only emotionalized thoughts have any action influence upon the subconscious mind. It is a well-known fact that emotion or feeling rules the majority of people. If it is true that the subconscious mind responds more quickly to and is influenced more readily by thought impulses which are well mixed with emotion, it is essential to become familiar with the more important of the emotions. There are 7 major positive emotions and 7 major negative emotions. The negatives voluntarily inject themselves into thought impulses, which ensure passage into the subconscious mind. The positives must be injected through the principle of autosuggestion into the thought impulses which an individual wishes to pass on to his subconscious mind. Instructions have been given in the chapter on autosuggestion. These emotions or feeling impulses may be likened to yeast in a loaf of bread because they constitute the action element which transforms thought impulses from the passive to the active state. Thus may one understand why thought impulses which have been well mixed with emotion are acted upon more readily than thought impulses originating in cold reason. You are preparing yourself to influence and control the inner audience of your subconscious mind in order to hand over to it the desire for money, which you wish transmuted into its monetary equivalent. It is essential, therefore, that you understand the method of approach to this inner audience. You must speak its language, or it will not heed your call. It understands best the language of emotion or feeling. Let us therefore describe here the 7 major positive emotions and the 7 major negative emotions so that you may draw upon the positives and avoid the negatives when giving instructions to your subconscious mind. The 7 major positive emotions: the emotion of desire, the emotion of faith, the emotion of love, the emotion of sex, the emotion of enthusiasm, the emotion of romance, the emotion of hope. There are other positive emotions, but these are the 7 most powerful and the ones most commonly used in creative effort. Master these 7 emotions. They can be mastered only by use, and the other positive emotions will be at your command when you need them. Remember in this connection that you are studying a book which is intended to help you develop a money consciousness by filling your mind with positive emotions. One does not become money conscious by filling one's mind with negative emotions. The 7 major negative emotions to be avoided: the emotion of fear, the emotion of jealousy, the emotion of hatred, the emotion of revenge, the emotion of greed, the emotion of superstition, the emotion of anger. Positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the mind at the same time. One or the other must dominate. It is your responsibility to make sure that positive emotions constitute the dominating influence of your mind. Here, the law of habit will come to your aid. Form the habit of applying and using the positive emotions. Eventually, they will dominate your mind so completely that the negative emotions cannot enter it. Only by following these instructions literally and continuously can you gain control over your subconscious mind. The presence of a single negative in your conscious mind is sufficient to destroy all chances of constructive aid from your subconscious mind. If you are an observing person, you must have noticed that most people resort to prayer only after everything else has failed, or else they pray by a ritual of meaningless words. And because it is a fact that most people who pray do so only after everything else has failed, they go to prayer with their minds filled with fear and doubt, which are the emotions the subconscious mind acts upon and passes on to infinite intelligence. Likewise, that is the emotion which infinite intelligence receives and acts upon. If you pray for a thing, but have fear as you pray that you may not receive it, or that your prayer will not be acted upon by infinite intelligence, your prayer will have been in vain. Prayer does sometimes result in the realization of that for which one prays. If you have ever had the experience of receiving that for which you prayed, go back in your memory and recall your actual state of mind while you were praying, and you will know for sure that the theory here described is more than a theory. The time will come when the schools and educational institutions of the country will teach the science of prayer. Moreover, then prayer may be and will be reduced to a science. When that time comes, it will come as soon as mankind is ready for it and demands it. No one will approach the universal mind in a state of fear, for the very good reason that there will be no such emotion as fear. Ignorance, superstition, and false teaching will have disappeared, and man will have attained his true status as a child of infinite intelligence. A few have already attained this blessing. If you believe this prophecy is far-fetched, take a look at the human race in retrospect. Less than 100 years ago, men believed the lightning to be evidence of the wrath of God and feared it. Now, thanks to the power of faith, men have harnessed the lightning and made it turn the wheels of industry. Much less than 100 years ago, men believed the space between the planets to be nothing but a great void, a stretch of dead nothingness. Now, thanks to this same power of faith, men know that far from being either dead or a void, the space between the planets is very much alive, that it is the highest form of vibration known, excepting perhaps the vibration of thought. Moreover, men know that this living, pulsating, vibratory energy which permeates every atom of matter and fills every niche of space connects every human brain with every other human brain. What reason have men to believe that this same energy does not connect every human brain with infinite intelligence? There are no toll gates between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. The communication costs nothing except patience, faith, persistence, understanding, and a sincere desire to communicate. Moreover, the approach can be made only by the individual himself. Paid prayers are worthless. Infinite intelligence does no business by proxy. You either go direct or you do not communicate. You may buy prayer books and repeat them until the day of your doom without avail. Thoughts which you wish to communicate to infinite intelligence must undergo transformation, such as can be given only through your subconscious mind. The method by which you may communicate with infinite intelligence is very similar to that through which the vibration of sound is communicated by radio. If you understand the working principle of radio, you of course know that sound cannot be communicated through the ether until it has been stepped up or changed into a rate of vibration which the human ear cannot detect. The radio sending station picks up the sound of the human voice and scrambles or modifies it by stepping up the vibration millions of times. Only in this way can the vibration of sound be communicated through the ether. After this transformation has taken place, the ether picks up the energy, which originally was in the form of vibrations of sound, carries that energy to radio receiving stations, and these receiving sets step that energy back down to its original rate of vibration, so it is recognized as sound. The subconscious mind is the intermediary which translates one's prayers into terms which infinite intelligence can recognize, presents the message, and brings back the answer in the form of a definite plan or idea for procuring the object of the prayer. Understand this principle, and you will know why mere words read from a prayer book cannot and will never serve as an agency of communication between the mind of man and infinite intelligence. Before your prayer will reach infinite intelligence, a statement of the author's theory only, it probably is transformed from its original thought vibration into terms of spiritual vibration. Faith is the only known agency which will give your thoughts a spiritual nature. Faith and fear make poor bedfellows. Where one is found, the other cannot exist.
Cool. You there, Dan?
I'm here.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It does. And for me, I understand because of my faith and beliefs. I understand kind of what he was talking about, prayer and faith and stuff working hand in hand, and that just reciting or something that was somebody else's or that somebody put out there, it doesn't work.
No.
You know, unless you put your emotion and yourself into it to bring it to the level of what you need it to be, you know, and where it's coming through your antenna, I guess, or however you want to call it, you know, to put it out there so that it has your marking on it rather than the marking of somebody else, and where it doesn't have the same passion or feel or whatever added to it. And I think that's why when he was talking about people use prayer as a last form and don't realize just how the faith and all that works into when you step out into, and I think you can attest to that.
Absolutely.
Kareem had to step out in huge faith in what you guys wanted to do, and I'm sure there were lots of nights you just sat there and going, really, doing a lot of, putting stuff out there into infinite intelligence so that way it will be picked up.
Well, I know that when we started the Power Hour, it was just an idea. It was an idea I had because I was sick and tired of, working someone else's business, promoting success in 10 steps, getting ebook downloads, trying to get people to buy health products. I didn't feel like I aligned with that particular goal internally, mentally, physically, emotionally, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle for Kareem. It was a struggle for our downline. It was a struggle for everybody involved. And I just said, enough's enough. I'm going to start my own thing, and it's just going to start off as the seed, and then I'm going to water it and see what works. plant the right fertilizer, see what's going to happen, and it just kept going and going with it. That's what Kareem and I did, you know. And there were times when I thought, you know, how long is this going to take? And you know, we didn't know that YouTube was not a viable business model. Now we know. We didn't know that offering 20 different services with our Shopify site was a bad idea. Now we know. And that's the real essence of success is you can't worry about how you're going to do it. You just have to do it. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to accomplish something, have the idea and the desire, the way opens up before you, and you just keep going. You learn along the way what works and what doesn't work so that you can fine-tune it, craft it, and mold it into what does work. And the only way to do that is to fail at something. So I honestly see failure as an important part of success. You have to be defeated before you can succeed because you have to figure out what is the best method that you're going to use to achieve the desired outcome and the goals that you have. And that's how we got from the Power Hour to Rockstar Entrepreneurial Starters. Was we started just doing video, and then we learned about video and how awesome it is, and how we had the talent and developed the ability and the skill set to learn how to make videos, edit videos, key out backgrounds, add annotations, music, narration, and end screens, introductions, and all that. And that was a long process. But now we've been able to build a business around our skill set. And that's how you start doing things. That's how you develop yourself. And it was always in my subconscious mind that we were going to succeed. And we're not, you know, we're still in just getting the foundation built for everything. But it's all coming together, and it's piece by piece, it's day by day. And it's just having the desire that you're never going to give up on something. I think that is the most important thing. And realizing that if you can think it, you can achieve it. And that's why I think that reading stuff like Think and Grow Rich, Law of Success, and other personal development is very important, because it keeps you motivated during those times when something isn't working and you start to doubt yourself, and you start to doubt this information and go, well, is the law of attraction real? Is all this stuff real? But then you come to realize that, well, if it wasn't real, why would I be able to think it? And that's the absolute truth. Anything you can perceive in your mind that can be applied to physical reality can happen for you. So it was just me and Kareem never refusing to quit on each other and refusing to give up. So that's why we're here now. And I'm really happy about that too.
Well, it's funny because you touched on something about failure and success, kind of, you know, you need the failure to, and it's because this morning on the Saturday morning mastermind, the other mastermind I'm a part of on Saturdays, we're reading The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson.
Yeah,
and it's a good book. And we were actually talking, it's funny, some of the people have one edition, and I have an older edition, so the chapters, so we were little, kind of where are we and stuff, but we still had a good conversation about it. And in it, I read this little part, and we were talking about, you know, stuff alluding to kind of what you just said, and it says, no success is immediate, nor is any failure instantaneous. They are both products of the slight edge, according to here. But I think, you know, saying that, you have to have failure to get to the successes.
Absolutely.
And you have to have the successes to help you realize that you've overcome the failures.
That's right.
It's a circle that goes around and around, because once you get to one success, now you have to start dreaming and putting out those thoughts again, and going to another level of dreaming and building and going to that next step of what you want to do.
That's right.
To add on to what you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeds in, and then you go through another set of failures and trials and stuff to find out what works and stuff to get you to that next level. And I think people don't realize that they go hand in hand. That I didn't even really, I did kind of put it together today when we were doing this. I'm like, oh, if I just realize in actuality these failures are not bad things. They're part of what I need to go through to get to there. You look at it as my learning and opportunity to learn and grow and grow from it. and it's hard not to put it into that emotional or physical light or sense because you're feeling it and you're in the moment and stuff, but if you can go back to what he's talking about in the book, yes, you can acknowledge the negative stuff, but stop it there and move forward back to the positive. Say, okay, I see this, I understand what it is. This negative thing or this failure is not negative. It's a negative positive, if you can understand how I'm saying that.
Yep.
And move it forward there and go back to the positive side and say, okay, I know this didn't work, just like Thomas Edison,
Exactly.
took him 10,000 tries, and he said, well, I learned how to, explode a light bulb another way.
I found 9,999 ways it didn't work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he didn't look at it. He didn't go. He recognized the negative of it, but he turned it into the positive. He said, oh, well, I just learned another way of how to explode it.
Yeah.
But where do I go from there? What do I take from all these others? And I think that's kind of where as I'm watching what you and Kareem are doing, and I'm trying to learn that for myself. I'm like, oh, okay. Change this in my head. Don't acknowledge the negative, go through it, but don't let it take over and move it back to the positive.
Yeah, it's all about attitude. And if you approach your defeats with the right attitude and go, okay, this is good because now I have feedback of what didn't work. And you keep doing that, and then eventually you get through all of that, and then you go, well, now this has to work because I've done so many other things that didn't. And you fine tune yourself to only tune into what's going to work. And the only way you do that is by doing it. And you can't, there is no how. How doesn't exist. Just do it. When you think of how, what you're really doing is saying that, well, I'm failing. I'm going to fail before I start. So why bother? That's why people say, well, how can I do this? You already know how. It's just getting out. It's just doing it. It's just applying yourself to that thing you want to learn, that skill you want to develop, that business you want to start, that mindset you want to create. You've already know how. You just have to take the actions to start doing it and forming the foundation for it, building the consciousness and building the skill set. That's really all you have to do.
Yeah, I'll throw out one big negative that he spotlighted in here as part of the 7 negatives, and is that fear of negative. Fear as the emotion of fear, letting that overrule, letting that be the thing, because I think that's one of the biggest things that stops people.
Oh yeah, it
is
definitely
that fear of that, and so then they feed themselves. Oh well, it won't work this way. It won't do that, even though in their head they see it and they've thought it, they've seen it, they've dreamed it, and instead of letting that be, they listen to that fear, or let other people put fear in them.
Exactly.
And putting more weight on that instead of going back to the positive and going back to getting to around people that will feed the positive back into you and stuff like that. So I think that's another.
Yeah, and I mean that's very important because you've got to understand that as an entrepreneur, you've got to be willing to tune out everything and everybody that is counterproductive of what you're trying to achieve. And so really what it is for me is it's a complete transformation of the self into what I want to be. And I don't care what it takes. I could be living out of my car and it doesn't matter. My vision and my passion for what I want is so strong that I don't care. And once you get to that point, once you've built that fire in yourself and you go, okay, this is what I want, it sustains you. It's going to keep you going. But you have to work at it every day to keep that momentum going, because momentum dies over time. If you just sit idle and you procrastinate, all that momentum you built to become that person dies and you go back to step one. That's how the subconscious mind works. And that's what he was talking about in this chapter, was you have to constantly tune your mind to the consciousness you're trying to create the results you want. And that's what you got to do. That's what everybody has to do if they want to get out of the mundane life that they're currently living. And not everybody's cut out for it. Not everybody's willing to put that work in, and that's why they're at their job still. That's why they only earn so much money. That's why they have the relationships they have. That's why they have the friendships they have, is because they're not believing they can achieve more. And that's where it starts. It starts in belief, 100% belief.
Yeah, there are times when I wish I could say, okay, so you say you hate your job, you hate this, but yet you're complaining, but because you're complaining, you really have no room to talk or complain or do anything. Yet I have to qualify that because I've done that very thing.
Oh yeah, we all have.
I've even been, in procrastination mode because my energy, my stuff just was, it wasn't that I didn't want to get there or anything. It just I kind of let other things and other things kind of, get and stuff like that. So, I think that's another good valid point that you brought up, that, sometimes people say it, but
they don't mean it.
They don't live it and mean it.
Yep.
And it's almost, I know half the people, if you were to say, well, you're getting what you really want, then, and they'd look at you and they'd probably threaten to kill you because I don't want this. I didn't, but yet in actuality, that's what they're saying.
They're not doing anything to change it. So really it is what they want, because if they didn't want it, they'd be doing everything in their power to change it. And they wouldn't be worried about, well, is it going to work or not? They would be like, okay, the alternative is the same thing I'm doing now. The same life, the same people, the same girlfriend, the same boyfriend. And if that's not working, well, then your only option is to do something about it to change it. But if you believe you can't, then you're in a catch-22. And that's really where a lot of people are, is they're in that autopilot mode where they just think that everything happens by proxy, everything happens by chance, everything's random, and that's not how it works. Nothing happens without intention. Doesn't matter what it is. Nothing's created without ideas, thought impulses, beliefs, and action. So, I mean, and yes, I know that people in third world countries don't create famine. They don't create poverty. They don't create that stuff. But if they came together as a collective and they focused on the things they could do to change it, they could rise out of poverty. They could rise out of famine. And Booker T did it. Booker T. Washington released the blacks from slavery. He was one of the ones that did that. Malcolm X was another one that helped free the blacks from slavery. So all it takes is a vision and a plan of action and taking action to make a major difference in the world. You look at Mahatma Gandhi. He's the most powerful man in the world, even though he doesn't have a home or money, but he's been able to influence over 200 million minds to cooperate with his philosophies. So it just proves that the power of intention outweighs anything else. And if you've got a powerful enough intention, you can accomplish anything and you can overcome all adversity. But that's what you got to do, and that's the only way to do it. And the universe isn't interested in people who half want something, or that put in half the effort or half the persistence. No, you've got to be 100% all in. And that's the way it is. And why should it be any other way? I mean, I wouldn't want success if I wasn't willing to earn it. It wouldn't be as glorious. It wouldn't be as grand, because the triumphs Kareem and I have already had are keeping me like excited and happy and motivated. I'm like, wow, we finally figured it out. Now it's just a matter of marketing it. Now it's a matter of keep building the house. The foundation's in, we got the flooring in. Now we're starting to put the walls up. Eventually there'll be furniture in there, a roof, and then we're going to have different floors, and then there's going to be people in there. And it's there. I mean, I'm so excited for that. Like, we worked so hard for this, and it's coming together. It's moving forward. And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. You have to have that work ethic. And the only way to develop it is to practice it, like anything else. Any habit you want to make permanent has to be practiced. So I hope that makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, no, it really did, because if you look at anybody, I think they'll say something similar to what you said. They might use different wording or something like that, but overall, I think they'll convey that same idea and that same thought, that and it was not how long, it's just when.
Exactly.
So I think that's the biggest thing that people
they're so worried about the when, Dan. When's it going to happen for me? And you look at how far you've come, like the stuff I've learned that we've learned from you, and your positive attitude, and you're always like, guy, when I get down on myself, you're like, Chris, you're great. You're going to get there. Just keep believing in yourself. The support that we've had from you is why we're going to hire you. Why you're going to be our article writer, our blogger, why we're going to help you make money, because you've been there for us and you've helped us. You've supported us. And I mean, that's the kinds of people I want in my company. I don't want people in that have anything negative to say, and you never have anything negative to say about anybody.
Don't get me wrong. I've had my moments and stuff, but I don't try to put it out there, and I keep it to within.
Well, you know the repercussions of that. That's why.
Right. And so on that end, no, don't get me wrong. I've had my moments where I've been like this and just I kind of have been, said things, but I've also said it not in the vein of what a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't broadcast it. I don't really put it out there and stuff like that. You're sometimes having a little bit of a negative or critical something that's meant in a positive way is always good, because it kind of helps keep you sharp and keeps you thinking and looking at things from a different perspective and point of view too, because sometimes you can get so like this that you forget to take it off a little bit and look around and see what could be of influence or help.
That's right.
But you keep it limited into within the realm of what you need and what you want too.
Yeah, and just I thank you so much. We love you, and you've always been here for us. You believed in us, and we're going to help you turn your business around too. And just you helping us being our blogger, and we're going to put money in your pocket. So I mean, and your writing is impeccable. You're very articulate. You got a way with words that a lot of people need to know, and the things you write about is stuff that people really need to be reading and tapping into. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, totally.
But how much longer are you wanting to go on this? Are you wanting to go till?
I was going to end it right now, and thank you for being here tonight. I know we've got other things to do. I know you've probably got to eat. You haven't eaten since you've been home, so you're probably hungry.
Yeah, I am a little hungry because I've been out doing stuff. And
did you make some good money today?
Yeah, enough for while I was out and about. So it's just a day-to-day thing.
Cool, man. All right, I want to thank Mr. Dan Sissick for being here tonight for the Entrepreneur Power Hour Saturday night personal development. And we're going to be doing I'm going to be getting back into doing this every week, provided that Kareem and I aren't super busy. But the next chapter we're going to be getting into with Think and Grow Rich is going to be, let me just find it. Well, that's chapter 14. That's
the brain, a broadcasting and receiving station for thought.
There we go. So we're going into chapter 13 next week that's going to be October the 7th. So, or no, 6th. Nope, 7th.
No, 7th.
Cool. Okay, so tune in next week at the same time. We're going to be getting started at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Central. And you're on Mountain Time, Dan, or Pacific?
No, Pacific, so that would be 4.
So 4 p.m. Pacific Time. And I want to thank Dan for being here and everybody for watching. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.